I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you so much for getting on with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry, I was
Excited.
done 15 minutes ago, but I get too fired up.
Dude, that's a lot of exciting announcements. And here's what's cool. Like what I'm going to go over with y'all tonight, the numbers that you read for issue paid, we just got off our team call. The top 10 all for issue paid numbers. The number 10 was 16,000 for the week. Yeah,
Crazy.
it's mind-boggling, and this is like that's it's the direction FFL is going. And one thing I can tell you, so I've been here since day one, Marissa, and when FFL moves in a direction, if you don't move in that direction with them, you will get left behind. And not in like, I'm not trying to say that to be rude, or it's just everybody will eventually get on that train. You just want to be on the front of the train, not at the back of the train. And so I'm excited for this because you guys have so much potential. And I mean, it's funny because there's 98 people on this call right now. So between our team call, which we had 185, this team call 98. So let's call it 295 or 298. There's 150 people on the builders call this morning. So I'm like, what are we doing? There's so much information that gets shared on these calls and we don't get on them, and it affects your bottom line. One thing I can tell you about everybody that I've seen succeed here was a sponge for information and knowledge. They swallowed their ego. They said, I don't know what I'm doing. I want to learn. Or I know a little bit about what I'm doing, but somebody's doing it better than I am. And they get on the calls, they go to the conventions, they attend meetings, and they learn. The crazy thing about it is this stuff is stupid simple. The system we have in place right now, Marissa, you're about to see, it's stupid. I mean, last week we had 12 agents submit $290,000, 12. So if I go, I could do $1 million a month with 15 agents. And those, like 10 years ago, that was like we did 10 years ago, we did VP, we hit VP with 15 agents, and I thought I was hot shit. We can hit $1 million with 15 agents with our eyes closed. So, guys, I'm not saying I don't love final expense. I love mortgage protection. It was my go-to for years. But right now, I am not talking about anything but annuities and IULs because that's what's all over social media. It's what's easy to generate leads with. It's what's profitable. It's what's persistent, and it's what's in right now. And I'm not usually one of those guys. I'm stubborn. So like when social media took off in this business, I'm like, nah, I ain't doing it. Like I hate social media. I'm not going to be that guy. And I waited and waited and waited, and then I was playing catch up. And then we got to the Facebook the Facebook leads. And I'm like, I'm not using Facebook leads. We're going to continue on with mailers. And I got left behind. And then they're like, mailers were done. We're doing ILC leads. I'm like, I'm not doing ILC leads. They suck. And we got left behind. I'm just telling you, you have to adapt to make changes quick in this industry or else you'll just struggle. And it's not like when I say struggle, I'm not broke, but I'm watching people like Marissa come up and been here for what, 3 years now?
Yeah.
And do 15 times more than I was doing 3 years in the business. It's because she adapts and changes really quick. So what would you like me to touch base on tonight so I can make sure I hit everything you want me to hit on?
Yeah, 100%. So Frank, what I'll do, because you're just great at ripping. So I'll kind of go over some of the questions that I've been getting. And Frank, a lot of this is my fault too, because for me, IULs and annuities always seemed like this advanced thing, right? And that's why this is partially my fault, why my team doesn't do them, is because I wasn't doing them, right? Because it seemed like this advanced, smart person. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know what I would do. So I'd love for you to kind of break down one, like, why would we want to do it? What about it makes more profitable? And then for the people that are on this call that are like, okay, cool, I'm down to do that. What are like the step-by-step, like how do they get started? Do they need extra training? Do they need extra resources? We got the boot camps, great. What do they need to do to really make this thing go? Because I think a lot of times we talk about this stuff and it's like, go do IULs and annuities. And it's like, you get off the call and you're like, okay, but I don't have like actionable items on what to actually do. So I think just like IULs and annuities for dummies, starting from the beginning, and that's fantastic.
And I appreciate you trying to fall on the sword by going, this is my fault. It's we can all take the blame, but at the end of the day, AMS was the reason why people thought, oh, I have to be really smart to sell annuities and IULs, like advanced market sales. Why? Notice why we changed the name to Simple Retired Solutions, because it is simple. And that's one thing I never understood about the trainers that did the training on this. I'm going like, why are you guys why are you trying to make it so complicated? So is it so that people look at you and go, oh, he's really smart? Oh, I got it. Your self-esteem is really low. You need people to tell you how great you are and how smart you are. When I did it, I'm trying to get people to go, dude, if this idiot can close annuity, so can I. And at the end of this call, like, I promise you, my annuity illustration was literally 3 lines. I would draw an arrow up. I would go, the market can go up. I would draw an arrow down. I could go, the market could go down. Or I draw, and then I draw an arrow lateral and go, it could stay the same. Marissa, if you could eliminate one of those, which would it be?
Mark it down.
Mark it down. Perfect. I've just sold an annuity. Like, it ain't that complicated. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to srstrainingcamp.com, and you want to do the IUL training camp and then the annuity training camp. If you're not contracted with the annuity carriers or the IUL carriers, you cannot get contracted until you go through the boot camp on both of those. And then once you do, you can send an email with your certificate of completion to Marissa, and then Marissa will forward that to Sergio and Zach or I, and then your contracting can go through. But once you go through these training camps, boot camps, you're going to realize that these really are, they're easier to sell than final expense and mortgage protection. Mortgage protection, you got like so many different, like if you watch the 5 different mortgage protection closes, it's like, and it can go into depth in each one of those. Like with an IUL, first of all, someone's going, hey, I want to save money for a tax-free retirement. Okay, Marissa, how much a month do you want to save? 400. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Here's an illustration. This is what it's going to look like. What's your social security number? Like, what are we even doing here? It's not, and I'm not asking her for money. She's giving it to me. We were on a call. I'm going like, we're order takers now. When I was in the mortgage business in 2008 or 6, 7, people were calling me going, hey, I want to refi. I'm like, okay, great. And then people were calling me going, hey, I got a bunch of credit card debt. I'd like to make I'd like to consolidate that so I can save some monthly or money on my monthly payments. Do you think you could help me with that? Yeah. So now they're going, hey, I heard this video on TikTok. They're talking about generational wealth and how I can put money into a plan that can't lose no matter what the market's doing, but it can only gain when the market's up, and the retirement income is tax-free. Can you explain that to me? Sure, I can explain it to you. You just explained it to me really in a nutshell, but I can say it back to you. It'll go into a plan where it takes advantage of the upside of the market, indexing, eliminates the downside risk. You get a death benefit with it. So when you pass away, your family will get a lump sum of tax-free money. It has living benefits. So if you get diagnosed with cancer, have a stroke, have a heart attack, it will pay you while you're still alive. And then, oh, by the way, when you start drawing the money, it's tax-free. The cool thing about that is too, Marissa, you take a loan from your life insurance policy, your money doesn't come out of that account. So it keeps compounding as the balance is still whole. The money that you take out comes off of collateral of the loan, of the life insurance. So like you look at these plans and it's like a win-win situation for everybody. So when you get into selling IULs, you're not really selling anything. This shit sells itself. Pardon my French. There's too many videos on social media marketing right now between TikTok, Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts that talk about IULs that people already know what they are. So when you're buying leads, IUL leads, they've watched the video. Like we've got so many different videos we cut and run. So people already know what it is. When they get on our calendar or they fill out the form, they're not dumbfounded when we call them. They're like, oh yeah, I'm waiting. It's so easy. And I hate using that word because it inevitably will screw somebody up. but it's so simple that we can actually have appointment setters set appointments for us so that all I'm doing is sitting on the phone all day closing deals. And the reason we can do that is because it is an order taking deal. These folks want something we have. They're not looking to procrastinate. They're looking to get it started quickly. So when I have an appointment setter call them, they're essentially going, Marissa, you had reached out to us looking to get some information on how our IUL programs work. I'm going to put you on Frank's calendar. What's good for you tomorrow at 4 in the afternoon or tomorrow at 7:30? That's, and there are no objections. If they start going, well, I just want to know what it's about. Great. Frank will answer all your questions tomorrow at 4 or 7:30. Which one works better for you? It's really that simple. So with final expense, you're battling all this BS. You're battling how much does it cost? Well, I'm busy. Well, I'm 74. I've not bought life insurance up until this point in my life. I've procrastinated for 74 years. Well, I'm 18. So when I'm an adult, so I've procrastinated for 56 years, but I'm still going to procrastinate because I'm probably not going to die tomorrow. Call me back next week. Like that's what you get when you're dealing with final expense. And then, oh, by the way, oh, I like that $25,000 for $140 a month, but I don't have a checking account. I can pay with a money order. Like what grown up does that? What you're getting with IUL clients are, you know, they have a job, you know, they have a checking account, you know, they're looking to invest money. The other cool thing about IUL leads is the amount of annuity money we're finding inside of these leads is stupid. So if you're calling mortgage protection like leads, the rule of thumb was for every 10 clients you sat with, you should find 2 people that have some money that you might be able to move. We're finding the numbers with the IUL leads are like 5 out of 10. So it's more than double the amount of people that have something, either an old 401k, an old IRA, an old Robinhood account that they have money with. They just don't know what to do with it. And oh, by the way, they're afraid because the market's so volatile right now. So once you learn the ins and outs of an IUL, annuity is even easier because there's no underwriting, no death benefit. There's a death benefit, but it's not like an insurance death benefit. It's whatever you put in is what the death benefit is guaranteed, leaving out if you were to pass away. But you don't have to worry about if they're 5'6" and weigh 280 pounds and they take metformin and I don't know, a blood pressure medication. There's none of that with an annuity. It's strictly, listen, you have some money. You're tired of watching the market go up and down. You're definitely tired of watching it go down the last 2 to 3 years. You don't know what's going to happen in 2024. It's an election year. Most people are scared to death, as they should be. So they want to make sure that if, God forbid, the market keeps continuing on this downward trend, that they cannot lose a dime. But when it recovers, they'll be able to take advantage of that upside swing. That's essentially my annuity pitch. All an annuity is a savings account with an insurance company that is indexed, just like an IUL. And if you don't know what indexing is, you'll learn it in the annuity and the IUL training camp. But essentially, S&P 500 is an index. Top 500 companies in the country. It's never been down like negative 2 years in a row. The reason for that is every year it's adjusted. So if this year the top 500 companies were companies that thrived in a downside market, and then next year the market started to take off, well, then at the end of that year, they're going to replace those companies with the new companies that are in the top 500. It's pretty simple, right? It's an easy concept. And there's always 500 companies in the country that are profitable. So annuities are simple. Savings account with an insurance company, take advantage of the upside of the market, but eliminate the downside risk. We can add lifetime income riders to this contract if you want us to, which means when you start drawing money, it's guaranteed to last you for the rest of your life. Or we can just set up a cash accumulation account where you're not worried about taking cash out or any money out. You're worried about protecting that for maybe a legacy, or maybe your spouse, when you pass away, she has a lump sum of money. Either way, we can teach you how to do that stuff, but go through the boot camps first, and it'll give you a really good foundation of what you need to know. As far as tools and research, you want to say something?
Yeah, real quick, Frank, I was just going to ask. So even on our team, right? So our average agent is probably 31, 32.
Oh, yeah.
Would you recommend, I mean, they probably should have an IUL on themselves?
Oh my God, yeah. And if you happen to have like 30, 40, 50, 60 grand laying around, just Call me tomorrow. My number is 443-790-9341. I'll run you an illustration that will make you, it'll make you do cartwheels. I don't like you put 50 grand in an annuity at age 30. By the time you're 65, bro, I can't even. Like, I just ran one with Dom today for a 45-year-old. And at 65, he had 7 figures. And the guy put in, we illustrated like 30 grand. So that's the power of indexing. That's the power of never going backwards and just locking in your gains when you make them and not having to worry about going backwards. If you have 100 grand and the market goes down 50%, you have to make 100% to get your money back. Most people think, well, if I had 100 grand, it's down 50%, I get 50% growth, I'm back to even. No, you're only at 75 grand at that point in time. So that's powerful when you never go backwards. It's like if you've ever played blackjack, I do the rock paper scissors example or blackjack, right? I'm the dealer, you're the player. You bet whatever you want. When you win, I'm going to pay you. When you lose, you get to keep your money. I mean, there's 100 different analogies I could use to explain an annuity, but it's not worth me trying to confuse anybody, because my deal is not to make y'all think I'm really smart. My deal is to make y'all think that this is really simple and everybody could use it. And when you first, it's like when you file your first death claim for a client, it changes the way you view this industry. When you get your first call, when you write an annuity from a client that goes, I am so thankful I met you. I would have lost 70 grand. I would have lost 190 grand with the way the market's performed over the last year, 2 years, 3 years. It'll change your world, because that's what it's all about. We're here to service clients. And if you're selling, even if you're just selling final expense, you should be asking the golden question: what do you have to act like life insurance? Because you're not servicing them fully. I was the king of replacing policies, not with worse policies, with better policies. But I was the king because I would service my clients in all those categories: mortgage protection, final expense, IULs, and annuities. And I had value. Instead of going, all right, I'm just going to cover your funeral and I'm out. When I go in, I go, well, did they talk to you about your retirement and protecting that, so that not only will your family get, this policy to bury you, but they should have a little bit of your retirement left over, so that maybe they could do something nice for your kids. Maybe they could throw a big party when you pass away. Whatever it is that you're looking to do, we can help you accomplish. I'm not a one-trick pony. And that's why my persistency was always pretty good, because I wrote always at least 2 policies in every home. My goal, that was my goal. And if it was a final expense, the goal was to write either a children's whole life on a grandchild or an annuity. If it was a mortgage protection, it was to write the husband and the wife. Or if it was an IUL, to get a burial plan included, or an annuity. Like, the goal is always to write 2. But with the IULs, these are showing so much value. The persistency is 92% across the country. So we've got the whole group of people that are scared to recruit because of chargebacks and rolled debt. First of all, that's a crock. Like, I've been doing this for 14 years. I've been in FFL since day one. I've got a spreadsheet with 380 grand worth of debt I ate, and I'm definitely not broke. So, like, you can cry about it, or you can just keep going and write 50, 60, 70 grand a month, and chargebacks are never an issue. The only reason debt becomes an issue is if you stop working. A lot of folks stop working, start getting some overrides, and go, oh, this is nice, I don't have to work to get paid. That's your first mistake. But if you want to recruit and you're tired of debt, rolled debt, chargebacks, dude, start writing IULs and annuities. We have a system that's stupid easy. I have a system that I know for $4,600 a month, you can write $50,000 every single month. That's just on the life insurance side. That's not including annuities. So you should have another 20, 30 grand in annuities every month, 200 to 300,000 on a $4,600 investment. I mean, are we kidding? It's mind-boggling. It is stupid. I'm going like, this can't be really this simple, but it is, because we've had people building this thing for the last 12 months and suffering the punches and blows and the downs of learning something new, trying to come up with a system that nobody's doing, spending money. I mean, we spent a good 400 grand over the last 12 months on developing the system, and it's good. I mean, it's really good. So I can hit on anything you want me to hit on, I think the training camp is the most important thing. When you get through that, you'll be able to speak intelligently on these two topics. And if you can't, we always have the option to do a split. You can go to the ILC, you can go to where you go to ILC, which that HCMS or Gateway, right where you go into the ILC. There's an Ask a Specialist button right there. Or you can go to the old AMS website, and there's an Ask a Specialist button there. And you can get partnered with somebody that knows what they're doing. So the deal is there's four options. You can do a 50-50 split if you have no idea what you're doing and you want to watch somebody like myself or Jesse Handla or Spencer or David Allen or Brad Allen or John Gavin write an annuity. They'll let you watch, sit on the appointment, watch them fill out the application, watch them get it through underwriting, which is the suitability process. Watch them get the money transferred, watch them deliver it, and you get 50% of the deal. And you've watched all of that, which is priceless. It should only take you one or two times to see somebody write an annuity before you could do it on your own. Same thing with the IUL. So you could do a 50-50 on the annuity, the IUL. You can also do a 90-10, where you think you know enough. You just would love to have somebody on call, standby, if you get stuck in the home throughout that entire application process. And it's a 90-10 split. You keep 90, you give an SRS specialist 10% for being on call, essentially 24/7 for 2 to 3 weeks until it goes through. The other option is you don't want to do annuities or IULs, which is nuts, but you can just send it over to the SRS Ask a Specialist team. You can go, hey, I'm going to give this to one of your guys. If they write it, can they cut me in 10%? It's like a referral. It's a referral bonus. We got one of them today. I'm going, okay, whatever. And then the last one is if you know everything, you don't need any help with anything other than the illustration and the product. You just submit it, go, hey, I got a 60-year-old, they got 250 grand in an old 401k. They're retiring tomorrow. They want to make sure that, they never lose a dime, and they might draw, 10, 15 grand a year for the next 15 years. And then the specialist will run you an illustration, the right illustration for that client, tell you what product it is, send you a list of bullet points on how to sell it, and you're on your own. But there's so many resources, Marissa, here that if you're not doing it, it's because you don't want to. And again, this is a free country. We're all independent agents. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But from a financial standpoint and building a business standpoint, this is the quickest, fastest way to build a massive agency. We're 100% transitioning to IULs and annuities. Now, I'm not saying we're never doing final expense, but I'm getting people to get paid really quick on final expense and mortgage protection. And then as soon as they start getting paid, I'm throwing in IUL leads so that they can start writing those policies. And then in 45 days, when they start getting paid on them, boom, they're going to switch right to IULs and then annuities. It's really that simple. And we're going to take over. I have no doubt about it. And I love everybody on this call to be a part of that, because we're just here to help. So I'll be honest with you. You call me, I'll help you. Like, and the people on the SRS team would probably be pissed if they heard me say that. And I'm like, okay, so what? The more people we can help do it, the better off the whole company is. The better off you are, the better off we are. Yeah, 100%.
Frank's about to be sick of me. I'm already blowing him up like every day. So Frank, real quick, because I think too, now that we're on this track, can you just give us some quick like do's and don'ts, or like, because my brain like works in like one track thing. So
yeah.
IULs, the underwriting is strict, right? A couple basic rules. You wouldn't write them for over age 50, right? Or like what would be some of those things so that now people don't go to their appointments and they're like, I'm writing an IUL in every single appointment that I have, right?
Yeah. So some of the do's and don'ts, and that's a great question. So from a time frame standpoint, someone that's looking to build a substantial retirement, something with substance, I tell you, you need at least 15 years, 20 is better. So I'm a big guy, a fan of going, like, I'm not writing like an $800,000 a month IUL on a person that's 55, because if they give me till 70, it'll be okay, but it's still not going to be great. So yeah, you can get in trouble with that. But what I would do is go, hey, why don't we lock up a guaranteed, death benefit for you, right? So I would transition to something like that. The other thing is, you watch enough videos, and you guys, if you look up any of these videos, you'll start getting them constantly in your feed. You get people to go, you should do increasing death benefit. All that stuff's fine. But here's the deal. With an increasing death benefit, if you don't turn that thing off at some point and it goes to just, and it doesn't go back to a level death benefit, then it's going to eat into the cash value at some point to where the cash value dwindles. And I'm not saying you won't remember, but what if you drop dead? Do you think our clients are going to remember in 10 years? I could even tell them 54 times in an appointment, listen, in 10 years, whether I reach out to you or not, you have to call NLG and switch this back to level, or else it's not going to be worth anything, right? So the two biggest mistakes I see people make is they try to write an IUL on someone that's too old, or they set it with an increasing death benefit. I don't like it, just because I want this thing to be set and forget, to the point where if I'm dead or if I'm out of the business, or if they forget, that policy is going to continue to function the way it should. And no matter what, when they go to turn that income on, there's going to be money there. As far as the annuities go, the biggest no-nos are taking 100% of someone's assets. So like if I met with Marissa, and let's just say she was a little bit older, closer to retirement, 55 years age, let's say, and she's got 200 grand in a 401k from an old company, and that's all she had. The annuity companies don't like you to take that entire 401k. They want her to have some assets that she can have access to without a penalty. So that's really the biggest no-no with an annuity. You really can't screw up an annuity. Whether you put them in a lifetime income plan or just a cash accumulating plan, you can't screw it up, but you can definitely screw up suitability. So that's when I'm looking at a lot of these annuity apps that come through, suitability is a big deal. So a rule of thumb, 50%. So if they have 400 grand in an IRA and another 400 grand in a CD, perfect. I can take that whole IRA and move it into an annuity. The other thing you can't do with annuities is combine qualified funds and non-qualified funds. So you can't take like cash out of the bank and put it in combination with an old 401k. It has to have the same tax status as it did before it went into that annuity, and you can't merge the two.
Perfect. And then Frank, as far as underwriting, I mean, if someone can't get a term because they have medications, they can't get an IUL. Is that pretty standard? Or no?
I mean, that's pretty close. And we just had, it's funny, we got that question on our call tonight, Marissa. What I always tell people is it's not necessarily true, because simplified is simplified. It's very black and white, right? But with a fully underwritten plan, and most of these IULs are fully underwritten unless you're using Ethos, which is an express issue. You can have ratings. So you can always call the insurance company and do a risk assessment. Hey, I've got a client that's 41 years old. They're 5'7", 194 pounds. They take metformin and one blood pressure pill, lisinopril. They'll tell you. Or they're diabetic, they're insulin dependent. They'll tell you. If they get approved, it might be a table 2 or table 3. Then you can run the illustrations with that table rating in there. But I would say you could probably get more people approved fully underwritten than simplified, just because they will look at someone that is insulin dependent diabetic, or someone that, let's just say a female had breast cancer at the age of 24, and she's 38 now. She's been cancer free for 13, 14 years. They'll take her for sure. Whereas simplified, they'll never take her. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%.
So use the carriers. They're here to help us. I mean, call them up as many, bug the hell out of them. That's what we did in the beginning anyway, with just final expense and mortgage protection. That's how we learned everything we learned, because nobody really knew. So we had to figure it out. And these companies are like Depot Adesino is 2-time Hall of Fame producer. Been here for 2 years. He sells 600 grand a year, all IUL business. And nobody taught him a thing. Like, he was selling IULs before we even thought about doing IULs. And I said, dude, how did you learn all this? He said, I spent time. I've read an IUL book. This was before we had the annuity, the IUL training camp. He said, and I called the carriers like 5 times a day, bugged the hell out of them. And they talked to me every time I called them. So, I mean, we have the resources there. It's just a matter of you taking your time to go out and do it.
Do you have a favorite product for an IUL, or all the carriers are equally good?
I mean, we have arguments. We just did an IUL workshop this past Thursday and Friday, and two of my top, Jesse and Nick, were going back and forth about who's better, NLG and FNG, and they both have good points. I think if you're using NLG or FNG, you can't go wrong. And then it's an express issue ethos. You'll figure out which one you like better. F&G has, I think, the 200% participation rate, but that can change. And that's what I said. I said, guys, you know what? It's like they're all using actuary tables. They're all using the index. It's like if I tried to sell you a Porsche for 170 grand, and then you went down the street and the guy was trying to sell you a Porsche for 32 grand, like something's wrong. It's the same thing with these IUL and annuity companies. If one of them is telling you that they can give you, an average of 17% interest, but every other company's at 7, something's smelly, right? They might be able to do it for a small period of time, but over the long run, they're going to get smoked. So you'll find that you might like NLG a little bit better than F&G as far as their underwriting guidelines go. But as far as the cash accumulation goes, you can't go wrong with either one.
And North American as well, or no?
We don't use North American much at all.
Okay.
NLG and F&G is top heavy.
Okay. Cool. All right, Frank, I think that's kind of what I wanted to get into. Oh, last thing I wanted to know. So, profitability is obviously going to be higher. Persistency, they're not going to charge back. That's pretty, standard. So your business is going to be definitely, you're going to have a higher persistency. Are you using this at all as a recruiting tool? So I talked to a guy today on an interview and he was like, he's like, I never wanted to join you guys before, but now that you guys are doing some IULs, I really want to join you. And I was like, well, perfect, because that was my idea. So here we go.
Yeah.
So what would you advise to these guys to kind of, grow their agency? How are you marketing, advertising from an agent standpoint?
Yeah, it's sexier than final expense sales, right? So and listen, I'm looking for people with an ego. I think they have bigger goals, bigger ambition. They tend to work a little bit harder because they don't want. So like I love the fact that we can go on and go, yeah, FFL is an IUL specialist company, because we'll attract a lot of people like you just had that didn't want to come here and sell mainly final expense, or those people that go, simplified issued insurance is not good, it's more expensive. Well, first of all, they don't know what they're talking about, because most of our clientele take medication or they smoke weed or they're fat and they can't get fully underwritten insurance when they fill out a form online or in the mail, right? But IULs draw a different type of individual. So now all these young hotshots that want to pretend they're in Wall Street, but they're just selling life insurance, won't feel so bad because they're still doing investments for their clients. Can't say that, but it's like an investment, if you will, because don't ever say that, you get yourself in real trouble. But it's their facade, right? I'm not just slinging final expense insurance in poor communities. I'm actually dealing with people that have some IQ and eclectic. They're a little more eclectic, and their financial IQ is a little bit higher. They have a little bit more money. You know what I mean? It's all a game. I loved running in Baltimore City because it was a bunch of folks that weren't upper class. They were hardworking folks that weren't the smartest. They weren't dumb, but they weren't real smart when it came to finances. And they just wanted somebody to come in there and be honest with them and give them the truth and help them. I think there's a place for that in the IUL side as well, but I would be screaming it on my social media, because there's a lot of, like, WFG, they're an IUL company and their comp's like 50%. Depot is one of our top producers. Dude, we recruited him off social media and he's like, what's the comp? We were like, well, you start at 90. This was 2 years ago. You'll start at 90. He's like, oh, I'm in. Like, okay, I'm in. It's simple math. And there's a lot of those people out there that go, wait a minute, I'm getting paid 40%. We got the new comp coming out 80%. If they're good producers, they'll be up to 110 in 3 months, 4 months. So yeah, I would be using that like crazy to recruit. It'd be all over my social media.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is huge.
This is going to be fantastic. So I'm excited. Frank, do you think there's anything else? I mean, I know the main things, right? We don't need to make it this complicated. Go take the training, get some IUL leads if you want. If not, there's a lot. If you guys don't want to get IUL leads, there's a lot of IULs and annuities to be found in your mortgage protection and final expense leads. Keep doing what you're doing. Anything else that you think is like a major thing that we need to know so we can get rocking?
Yeah, you need a system, and you're about to see that. So I think, because I'm not coming on here to do any of that stuff because it's a lot. But I think you see what that system does, because the biggest thing with any type of telesales is the follow up. But more importantly, like, you just want to be selling. And like I said, when we get you full-fledged going with the dialers and the CRM, and all you're doing is closing deals, I think it's something we pass along to your team. But I think you definitely need a system in the CRM to help manage these clients, because it'll be so many of them, and you got to have leads. I mean, and you let me know, I can tell them where to go to get it. But I think it'd be better if you tried it out, and then you could show them how it works. But it's been a game changer for us. Like I said, we put 12 people on as a tester 3 weeks ago, and then, like I said, last week those 12 wrote 290 grand in premium in just 7 days.
Yeah. That's
For sure.
insane. Okay. Frank, someone asked about annuity leads. Annuity leads are just leads in your clients. They're not really a thing, right?
Yeah, there's a couple there, and there's some companies out there that try and sell you what they call an annuity lead. And I'd encourage you to hang up on them. Like, honestly, I don't like them. I think, first of all, they overcharge you. Like, the cheapest annuity lead I've heard of is $150. I bought them that were $400 a piece, and they sucked. So the best annuity lead I've ever seen is IUL leads. Whether you get them out of the ILC, whether you get them from another lead vendor, whether you create them, like, the best annuity leads are IUL leads.
Okay. Create your own on social. I'm just typing this in the chat. All right, Frank, I think that was fantastic. I'm excited, guys. I'm trying out some new vendors coming up here. So I'm obviously not the queen of it, but I'll be doing it. And if I can figure this out, Frank, anybody on this team can figure it out. So
Yeah, no doubt. And Mike built that whole system file. So if you ever want him to get on there and go through it with your team, he will. And he's constantly, like, Jesse and Nick are constantly tweaking it, going, hey, we need to add this just to up the show rate, to up the closing rate, everything. So it's fantastic right now. It's going to get better and better and better. The more people we have using it, the more data we have, the better Mike can make it. And so if you ever want him to get on here, he can definitely do that and go over it with you guys, because it will be game changer. I have no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, Frank, one last question real quick. So would there be a ballpark of where an agent is at in their career, or would you just tell everyone, hey, kind of let's do this thing? Or would you say, like, if you're a brand new agent or you haven't sold 10K in a month yet, focus where you're at and then start doing this stuff? Or you just say go right away, no matter what?
I'm going more based off of what you have in your bank account. Like, if you can afford to live for 45 days without getting paid, and you will, because listen, every day, I'll just take Nick, for instance. Every day he's writing at least one ethos where someone goes, hey, I want to create generational wealth. And they're like, all right, how much can you afford to save a month? They're like, oh, $225. That's not, you know what I mean? So he's put them in an Ethos Express issued IUL. So he will get paid on those in a couple days. So it's more about their financial situation. If they can afford it, then I'm hopping them on it right away. If they can't, like I said, I'm getting them writing final expense, mortgage protection, and I'm getting them paid. As soon as they start getting paid, like, if their bill is $8,000 a month, like, for everything, as soon as they make $8,000, I'm telling them to write enough to buy leads, and then I'm getting them on the IULs. And then the next month they're writing $8,000 again, mortgage protection, final expense, and then they're hopping on the IULs. And then that slowly transition will just happen.
Okay, perfect.
All
I
right.
think it's fantastic. I'm really excited. Frank, thank you so much. It's an honor. I know you're busy, and this means a lot to us that you got on with us.
Anytime, anything for you. Let me know what you need. I got you.
You're the best. Thanks, Frank. Have a good night, guys.
Take care.